Okay, so nobody's getting the truth from the mainstream media, folks. It's well past time to open your eyes, your ears, and your mind. Do your own research because something isn't right here. And if you can't see that, you are not paying attention, folks.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The important message that we need Australians to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. In line with that, I do encourage all Australians to please go and book your vaccinations as soon as you can if you haven't already done so.
Emma, get away!
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, we need to stand up against this tyranny, folks. Stop giving away your freedoms and liberties, because the more you give up, the more these people will take until you have absolutely nothing left. That's their agenda. Good evening, people, and well, how are we standing up for our freedoms and fighting for them, guys? That's again what the show's about, to educate people out there that we are, silent war, guys. Okay, we all know it. Okay, and it's creeping down on us very, very hard. But there's good things happening out there. Okay, that is the thing. But we're going to have a bit of a chat tonight. And look, I listened to. I'm going to bring someone in a minute, but I done a podcast with actually Frank and Charles, and we did speak about, people with paywalls, guys. So, me and Frank might even mention that, who's coming on tonight, you know what I mean? Our view on that, you know what I mean? And what to, because like any of this information should just be shared, guys. So, when you see a paywall and, you got to go in there and anyway, we'll leave it there, and we'll get into it a little bit and get Caz's attitude on it too and see what she, because look, everyone's got to make money. It's a very, very, very funny topic, you know what I mean? And me and Mel have got a different view on it, and like, as I say, we don't sell a t-shirt, but anyway, that's another discussion. Let's have a look in it. Okay, so the steepest fall in productivity in Australian history under the Labor government. Well, we know it, but that's Sky News Australia saying it. So again, that's good. It's getting out to that public that are going out, looking out for on the mainstream for another place to look at. Albo over the plea to Albo over a jail guy, Australia guy, jailed in China, and he is of Chinese descent. But there's no way Albo is going to upset the the communist brothers, mate. That ain't going to happen. They're talking about now animals, horses, the horse virus now. Maybe being able to be used to create a vaccine to fight against all these other things that they've been trying to sell us a vaccine for the last, eons. Unreal. And, just to look at what's coming for us, guys, blackout crisis looms as America's faced full month of outages, plunging hospitals into shutdown. So it's not looking too good over there. So that's from the Daily Mail. So we'll just see how that plays out. But yeah, expect anything. You know, we are in that stage of the war, guys. We all know that, I think. And so Frank, come on in, mate. Let's whack Frank in here. And I listened to your little live. Good evening, Frank. Good evening, Caz. I listened to your little live that you done yesterday or something, Frank, where you had the toilet paper up.
Yeah.
Right? And just quickly, I'll cover something there. All right. People, have a look at what you are wiping your bum with. All right. Colon disease is up from the food intake and that, but also are you poisoning yourself every time you're using that bleached toilet paper? And where? On the blood vessels on your anus. Okay. Which is a straight input. Bang. Straight in. You know what I mean? To the body. So as I said, we use the bamboo one, and everyone needs to take heed and have a think about that, guys. All right. I'm going to tell you, it's easy to get. You just get on the net and get it. Okay. But be very careful, because everything they've got out there has sort of got us. But you spoke in there, Frank, and you spoke about how it's going to take a push and an assault, which is what I've been saying for a long time, against the community. Each community needs to rise up and take back their community. And as we do that, we got one here and another one there, and we fill in the pocket, and it's a long-term view, obviously, you know what I mean? That's the macro of it. The micro is doing what we do on the show to try and get people now to acknowledge that what Jody just done was very, very effective in the areas that it was in. So now what we need to do is break this down a little bit. As you mentioned the other day, as I had thoughts of, funny how God works, you know what I mean, and said that I had another plan that I think we should roll on with Jody and continue. But maybe can we, and I haven't even spoken to Jody yet, I've just been too busy, but, you know, can we now use this in our local area to build the momentum that we need? And I think you're portraying the same sort of message, Frank. So, yeah, what's your thoughts there, mate?
No, you're absolutely right, Dave. I think over the last 4 years, you know, we've been privileged to accumulate a lot of knowledge, right? So, and let's face it, knowledge is wasted if we're not sharing it, right? And I really believe that we've got to really get back into the community once again. And I think I see this. Look, I talk to so many people who are so amped up with so much great stuff, whether it be common law, you name it. They just know it hands down. And a lot of them know it even better than I know it myself, right? But I really believe that they need to get more in the pockets of their own community, because I started to think about this on a broader way of thinking, is that, you know, people don't have the coin to go traveling all over the countryside and chasing it all, as you know, Dave, right? But you can start on the local level. And we've got so many truthers living all over the countryside. But they're so amped up with so much knowledge and so many flyers and whatever, that there's no reason why they can't galvanise at a local pub or down the community hall and have an evening where you can have these open discussions. And I think now the way the tide has shifted, I don't think you'll have as much hesitancy as we had back in the early days trying to get a venue, right? I reckon
seeing your local bloke, right, and actually getting us on YouTube and getting us on the pub, you know, in one of the rooms, guys, or one of the tellies. You know, this is where we need to go, and you need to help us go there, all right? Because there's only a few of us here in Stop the Rot, all right? And
we have the opportunity. Guys, if you want to go and speak to your local public, then please do. Project Matilda has us 24/7 now. They can stream it. They can just basically put it up, cast it to the TV, and it will stream us 24/7.
24/7.
But again, Caz, it requires the community to get out there and get in, you know, have a chat with the pub owners and whatever, and say, hey, guys, we've got a great channel that it can actually open a lot of people's eyes. And I'll tell you what, the Truther movement and people in general who are waking up, mate, they'd love nothing more than to get together at a pub and start sharing information, whether it be protocols against the jabs, right? Teaching people that they can do all this sort of stuff in cleanse, right? You know, changing our medical, you know, way that we deal with life in general. There you go, Dave.
Yeah, we'll talk to Jody. We could do, for instance, guys, a pub parade where we can go to organise a meet at a pub, spend $1,000 there, everyone having tea, and that gives us the power to say, this is what we want on the telly. You know, hey, let's sit back. Yeah, that might be on over there, the racing, but hey, we want this telly here, and we want a little bit of volume. You know what I mean? And let's watch this show. Maybe that's a good way to organise these little, you know. It's each to their own, guys. We got to really start. These guys are coming down at us so hard. We've got to really start. And look, Man, I can't wait till I can tell my story, guys. Okay. But, you know, I just talked to people again today, and people are aware out there, guys. They're locked in their job. They know the protocols are wrong. They know the directives are wrong. They try and scoot their way around them the best they can, being as nice as they can to us, the general public. But they're under a very bad system. This is a health system, okay? And Martin, what's his bloody name? I don't remember him. What's his name? The health minister. Ryan, you deal, mate. You got trouble on your hands, man. Because when we get into the community and we win this back, there are people there that also understand what's going on. And on their off shifts and that, you will find they'll be joining us, Frank. They might stay where they are in the system, and we need them in the system because they're actually good people. All right, and they sort of understand now.
Look,
Absolutely.
it's the same with the back channels for police. The police are basically, they know something's really wrong, and then they don't like the system, and they're just basically trying to sidestep around it so that they don't lose their job, but they don't actually persecute us too much.
And I think, you know, a lot of people that are slowly waking up, they're obviously looking at an alternative where they can turn to learn more information. You know, look, I mean, how great was it when we started to meet our own? And we thought, shit, I'm not in the room on my own anymore. You know what I mean? So as people progressively start to wake up, they're going to go through that same emotion. And so I think it's really valuable time right now that everyone should jump in their local community and just start creating small groups. You know, maybe do this, you know, stand in the park a little bit more, but, you know, bring a bit more gusto to it. You know, like we can change things around slightly, you know, to sort of add more information to it.
That's it. All right, look, we're at 11 past. Actually, let me just get through some news as well. I don't know who this person is, but oh my goodness, kudos to you.
The under 16-year-old social media ban. Every single person in this mall, every single head you can see, doesn't matter what age they are, every single person is going to have to prove their age. Once you sign on to a digital ID, it walks us down that garden path to a social credit system. Just remember, everybody, the under 16-year-old social media ban has nothing to do with protecting children from harmful content. It's to get you to sign on to a digital ID. Reject the invitation. Get a VPN. Let me tell you now, you do not need to comply. Just say no. Thanks, Stuart. And Jolie, please go back to America. You're not welcome, and you were certainly not elected.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Look, this girl is my new favorite. It's Selena 10101, and she's got a message about the deporting, which is horrendous. I actually was not aware of this one.
Offender just got the right to stay in Australia because the minister took way too long to fill out some paperwork. Yep, that's right, a Somali-born man who exposed himself to a 13-year-old girl on public transport, kicked a police officer in the face, and who is on the sex offender registry for 15 years. He was meant to be deported, but Andrew Giles, Labor's former immigration minister, waited 3 years to cancel his immigration visa, and then the federal court just said, well, too late, let him stay. This is the same guy who was behind Direction 99, the policy that let rapists and armed robbers stay in Australia instead of being deported. Now the courts are basically tying the government's hands because they didn't act fast enough to protect the public. All while law-abiding Aussies are just told to be more tolerant.
That's right, we're the problem. Our intolerance is the problem. Our intolerance is the problem. However, listen to this one.
You're the problem. This is 2 days ago, guys, I think. This is Melbourne.
Yep, Ashura.
And that's Muslim men surrounding a Christian church.
Yesterday, thousands of Shia Muslims marched through Melbourne CBD for a religious procession that started in Treasury Gardens and ended up at Parliament House. But along the way, they stopped, they turned and they began a religious chant or prayer right in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral, the biggest cathedral in the country. Not near it, not across the road, directly outside the church. Now, you tell me, was this just truly a part of the route, or was there something more to it? Was it a simple stop for prayer, or could it be seen by some as a show of presence, maybe even strength? From where I stood, it definitely raised a lot of questions, and I think everyday Aussies are asking the same ones. Now, let's flip the scenario. What if thousands of Christians walked past a mosque, stopped, faced it, and started worshipping? The media would lose their mind. There would be front page outrage, there would probably be arrests, and followed by protests. And every politician would be bending over backwards to apologise for it. But when the roles are reversed, there's silence. Now, let's ask some real questions. Whenever you plan a march or a large-scale public gathering in Victoria, especially in the CBD, you need government approval and permits. That approval and permit includes a detailed route map submitted in advance to authorities. So the government knew exactly where this group was going. And you can't tell me no one looked at it and said, hang on, they're stopping right in front of the biggest cathedral in the country. Maybe, just maybe, we should reroute them to avoid triggering unrest. But they didn't. And they let it happen because they're too busy playing optics and pushing DEI policies over protecting national unity. And let's be real, this is what happens when you combine mass unchecked immigration, zero cultural integration, and a government obsessed with inclusion slogans over national cohesion. You get division, you get tension, you get processions that look more like power plays than a peaceful display of faith. Are we still allowed to talk about things that make us uncomfortable? Or is that off limits now? Because let's be honest, you won't hear a single word about this from the mainstream media or any politician. And that silence, that's a part of the problem. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are very in line with the big celebrity lineup that's come out on the ad on the MSM that they're pumping on 9, all right, that station, right, where they got all these celebrities saying, you know, Australia, you know, come on, we don't hate, and, you know, these Muslims are good and they're okay, and you can't talk about them, and you can't talk anti-Semitism, and they're driving, and isn't this very, very good timing, eh? How they just escalate everything, like, mate, they're good.
It's propaganda 101, Dave, is exactly what it is, right? And they're trying for us to pick a fight. That's what they want. They actually want us to tear each other apart, right? Now, let's hope our Muslim brothers and sisters, you know, can see through it themselves and realise, guess what? You know, we are all one. Where we go one, we go all. And regardless of your faith or your belief, we're all in this together, well and truly. So, you know, let's not kid ourselves. Yeah.
The thing is, and they have to understand too that they're being pawned because they're the weapons in this as well. Because if you look at these statistics here, now this is BIOS Integrity, and the red is those who voted for Labor. As you can see down the bottom, Asians, Middle Eastern, Europeans mainly voted Conservative, young renters voted for Labor, and the affluent voted for the coalition, the Conservatives. So the blue line is the Conservatives. So now that speaks for itself. This is why they're importing so many of them. And it's really very obvious at this stage.
Come on in, Frank.
No, I totally agree, Dave. And, you know, that's their handbook, folks, right? It's the handbook that's been played at us for decades, right? And I started to point this out when I, by chance, walked into the trade union building not too long ago, and I shared that with Dave,
that was
right?
Good. Yeah, that was a good video.
And you can see that the propaganda drive is driving us for decades, for years, right? Whether it be whatever it might be, you know, and this is no different. And so, and let's face it, you know, the conservative right. I mean, one thing about the conservative right is they don't want their little, you know, their little pocket disturbed, you know. So they're happy to sit as long as they can afford doing whatever they want. They'll do whatever they want. Yep. Now, exactly. the biggest problem here is that our country, because we don't produce anymore, we are 78% or even up to 80%, you know, basically relying on the government. All these employment is through government agencies right now. Yep. So literally, it's the hand that's feeding you. So what are you going to do? You're going to take that you know, that bloodline away from you. That's, you know what I mean. But you got to give it up, folks. You know, in order to get a greater good. This is a greater good. And I tell you now, when we get our country back, it won't matter. The left and right stuff, it won't even freaking matter whatsoever.
No, that's right. Well, and there are two birds of the same. Two wings of the same bird, as we have often said. And that this statement by Abbott,
5 wings of the same bird.
Yeah, and this statement by Abbott just basically proves that. Listen to this. He's talking about us.
It's new and decisive will on the part of the authorities to do the same thing to these utterly wrong-headed protests as was done to the freedom protests during the pandemic. If the Victorian government had the power to do it against protesters then, it's got the power to do it now.
Another one on the MSM, guys. Another one out on the MSM. Okay, not the whole story, but a little bit of they got us in Canberra. Yep, they did. Okay, but we'll get the real story out about what they done and burnt children. Yeah, we got all the photos, all the evidence, guys. I put a call out for photos on damage down there, I'd be absolutely inundated. You know what I mean? I'd have a whole file. You know, so yeah, we have got all the proof.
Dave, I was crook for a month. I couldn't get out of bed. My whole equilibrium had been gone. I was trashed for an entire month.
Yep. So you know, we haven't told the real story yet, but anyway, it'll get told one day. Me and Mel were talking about that today. What a ride this has been. Unbelievable. It's got to go down in writing.
Well, look, there's people waking up, and even Madison King, she's actually coming to the conclusion that we've been maybe similar to what we've been talking about.
God, this country, not only is it a mess, but we are run by pedophiles and people within the legal system, as well as the psychiatry system, that is linked to child sex offences. This guy was the barrister of Carl Williams from Melbourne. And now he's been charged with child sex offences. It's like you kind of give up hope sometimes, don't you?
So that's Carl Williams. Now so we've got the childcare centres, we've got the barristers now, and now Justice Matters have put this out about Westpak Bank.
An Austrac investigation found that Westpak enabled hundreds of PD files to watch live child SA abuse online and to meet up with children while they were overseas in the Philippines. It's sickening, right? But mainstream media won't tell you the details. So we've released a podcast called Cancel Westpak. To watch it, go to our website at justicematters.au or follow the link in the description.
Good on you.
Great.
Well done.
Fantastic.
The more this we get out there, the better. It's unreal. I'm stoked, man.
And Dave, imagine these locals going out and galvanising the community to show what they've created and share it with the general public. Yeah, 100%.
Next minute, the pub's too big and we're at the showground and we got a big screen up. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You know, stop the rot, sack the light. Guru, can be out, and Caz, we can be around live venues and live locations. This is a dream 100%. We need, guys, because this is the action that we need. Okay, this is what we need. Our ground troops now need to galvanise in their local areas, all right, and come together and get a game plan together. All right? And I reckon we can give you a pretty good game plan between a few of us, okay? Really, Jackie included, Jody included, Frank included, Kaz, myself, the other people, you know what I mean, out there. I'm not taking in anybody. I'm just saying there's a lot of people out there. Okay.
Yeah.
And if we can do this, guys, and get Madison King and other people like that to start and promote it and push it a little bit too, next minute we could have their shows. We got Matilda there. We could have, this stream going that Kaz has dreamt about in the past, containing all the different Australian news reels, and now I'm finding out there are a few more, and that's great, guys. I said we were the only one. We're not. Well, that's fucking choice, because I was a bit pissed that we were. But now, Nicola Charles does do a pretty good one. They tell me. I've never watched it. I need to go and watch it one day, and I will. But yeah, go, Caz.
Look, the thing is, it's very hard for everybody to understand because they have changed words and definitions, and so and they've manipulated the whole of society and re-engineered it. When somebody puts it as succinctly as this guy does about the modern day slavery, people start to actually get it.
history, you begin to realize during the feudal age, when the peasants worked on the land of the feudal kings, they only worked 140 days out of the year. The other 200 days they chilled. They didn't work. They went to the creek, they went to the river, they fucked around. So today we work more than the peasants. Most people work more than the peasants used to and have less to show for it. They have no land, they have no house, they have nothing. It's the illusion of slavery. It's the illusion of freedom. Back in the day, you at least knew you were a slave. You had to buy your freedom. Today, you don't know you're a slave. Instead of cracking a whip, they've just printed money out of thin air and told you it's valuable and this is what you're supposed to work your entire life for.
How good's that?
Yes. So 140 days out of the year. Now that was seasonal work as well. So now when you sow and you put your crops in, and then you reap it, or then you're caring for your animals. Okay, it's just crazy. Like what he's saying is true, and it's probably even less than that.
How biblical.
It is. Well, actually, if you look at the slavery terms,
they do a whole show on biblical stuff that's going on around the world at the moment. Sorry, Caz, go.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the biblical, like in history, what slavery actually was, you were a slave for 7 years.
Yep.
You weren't indentured to them for life. We are indentured in this system for life. Okay, and you have these ridiculous politicians running around doing stuff like this. Now, this is Wong, okay, and here she is. Foreign Minister Penny Wong is working to secure a formal agreement that codifies Australia's commitment to support Ukraine. Like, how about no? And then you've got this as well. Now, I have to thank Craig Kelly for this because he drew my attention to it. So Blackout Bowen managed to bill taxpayers $33,000 for his climate change jamboree. So, like, you've got that, and then no one of these people believe in climate change because this is what this guy's on. Like, look at that. 930,000. 930,000. He's a climate change bureaucrat. No wonder he believes in it.
Oh, yeah.
And even if he doesn't, for $1 million a year and the kickbacks and the private jet runs and all the rest of the bullshit that goes with it, you know what I mean?
And they love that number 33, don't they?
Or, you know, a young audience, Frank, you know, when you arrive at these prestigious places around the world that you're exposing the little background trades of throughout you and Brendan's little trips through Sydney. If you haven't seen them, guys, get over to Frank's channel or Brendan's channel, Brendan's Spirit, and have a look at what these guys have been doing, mate. They've been going off, right? Sneaking around inside places. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it, man. And, you know, they need help share out their stuff. So your friends actually get what's been going on and how we can relate all the Freemason signals and all the whole story is told. You know, Frank and that are like more or less doing a self-documentary without doing it. They're just whacking it out there live. You know what I mean? If you saw it, you saw it. Well, go and see it and share it, guys. Serious. Now we'll talk about it at the end, Frank. We'll do the documentary.
I'll tell you something though, Dave. When that door shut on me, man, I shit myself. Because I thought I was going to be stuck, you know what I mean? Like,
it was great, man. It was great.
Look, we've got a lot of stuff coming up, so I'll bring in the flyers now. And the Mondays at Maggie's crew is calling for tools down. It's time to stand together. A corrupt and tyrannical government is crushing industries, stripping freedoms and silencing voices. This affects every worker and every business. New South Wales under a corrupt government. Enough is enough. We won't stay silent and we demand action. So join us every Monday at the Governor's House in Sydney at 11 a.m. And on Mondays, don't forget Mondays at Maggie's, the Frank and Charles podcast. They will be hitting the streets this week. Mondays at Maggie's. And Charles is having his final protest for Infected Blood of Australia. It will be on Monday, the 14th of July at Sydney Town Hall Square at 10:30 a.m. He's asked that everyone come and say goodbye. And there will be an event held by Down Under Reform in Sydney to protest for zero immigration until housing affordability is restored. This will be on Saturday, July 12th, 2025, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And Dissection has more news and awards and finalists in the following festivals. Documentaries Without Borders Film Festival on September the 14th. It is official selection. Impact Docs Awards, California, USA, official selection for Best Documentary finalist, which will be on August the 12th, 2025. And the White Rose International Film Festival in Yorkshire, UK. Official selection for Best Documentary finalist, Best Cinematography runner-up. That date is on August 9th, 2025. And there is a court call-out for Michael Schultz on Thursday the 24th of July at Penrith at 9:30am. And in Victoria, we have the following events. In Melbourne, gather at the Governor's every Saturday to end the tyranny. 10am every Saturday at the Governor Gates. And join the Justice of the People in Melbourne every Sunday at 4:30pm for a remembrance at the Shrine of Remembrance, lest we forget. And Craig Cole of the Leave Our Kids Alone is holding a stand up for our children against sexual abuse in daycare centres, sexual abuse in state care facilities and child trafficking networks that operate within the system. This will be on Saturday, August 2nd at 12pm at the Flagstaff Gardens in Melbourne. And the Vax Bus has announced their Australian tour for 2025. The dates are 3rd of August, Coffs Harbour, 4th of August, Port Macquarie, 5th of August, Newcastle, 6th of August, Gosford, 7th of August, Narrabeen, 8th of August, Penrith, and 9th of August, Katoomba. And fresh on the heels of the FUCCP parade, Jodie Lowe has announced an upcoming Freedom Unites Coast to Country parade in support of Dr. Beverly Pearce. Dates to be announced. A daily prayer space is held on X at 3pm. So whatever you're facing, come along and we can lift you up in prayer. Every day, 3pm on X. Melissa 146233923.
Okay, if I can have first hit there. I've been speaking to the Vax Bus, and Frank, they're stopping up near your way. And
I saw that.
me and Mel are going to do our best. I've been talking to Rosie today. Rosie's going to be with them and meeting up with them.
Yep.
So I would love to get up and do some lives and promote the Vax. We're going to promote it anyway, but I would love to get one of their stops. So I harassed them to come to Wollongong. Their agenda is already set. They've done their spending and their budget, you know what I mean, for the amount that they can go. They can't change location. So unfortunately, I would love to have done one down the harbour here up in the top car park, Frank. Imagine it.
Yeah.
With a bus and the big screen or whatever they got, you know what I mean? And, you know, we would get people in, you know, if I promoted it. So anyway, let's get behind the Vax Bus, guys. It's going to hit the road, promote it, get to it. All right. And the other thing was, I forgot, but anyway, it'll come to me. Let's go.
All right. The big news of the day, of course, is Trump's reaction to the Epstein files. Let us listen to it.
It left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of Saturday?
Yeah, sure. If
could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure.
Okay, so, of course...
An easy way, right? If there's no Epstein list, like a lot of people are saying, where is it? Well, is Gillian in jail? That's the thing to ask yourself, because if she's in jail, there is an Epstein list. If she's not in jail, it's probably not. Anyway, go, Caz, sorry.
Well, we know that the media hates Trump, so how does he get the media to start talking about something? He says basically just, oh, there's nothing in that. Oh, no, we're not talking about that. And, of course, they fell for the bait.
Yeah.
On here? I mean, what's really going on? Well, experts, such as our friend Julie Brown from the Miami Herald, who's been covering Epstein for years, say that the notion of Epstein having an easy-to-access client list is likely a red herring. And that's what the Trump administration is relying on, that there likely isn't a list per se. But they are also now relying on the fact that because it's MAGA influencers who often put forward so many falsehoods, legacy news media won't push the point, that while there might not be a list, there are certainly files that can be released. There's a trove of information that the Trump administration is right now refusing to share. Information that could well point.
It is Republicans. We know it's Republicans. We also know that's your bosses, and you wouldn't have covered it unless Trump trapped you. Now, the other thing that Trump always does is he always goes, look over here, and then this comes out. So the FBI launches criminal investigations into John Brennan, James Comey, and DOJ sources. This is for Russia.
Anyway, it's getting hot over there, but I tell you what, the flame's hot under your ass here in Australia, guys. This pole's getting hot, baby.
It's actually a brilliant. I mean, talk about, the trap of all traps. He's got the whole lot of them in one box.
Well, there's some
interesting. Goes. God's got a plan. God's got a plan,
Yep.
and he's unveiling it. It's a great unveiling, guys. That's what it is. Unveiling
it is
all the
light.
And it's happening here as well. Now, this is very, very interesting. So this is Mark Latham, and he has said, thank you to the New South Wales constituents who, following Chris Minns's outburst in Parliament, have sent in material about the Premier for investigation, ranging from his EO to Chinese money, Minns' business side hustles. I check them all thoroughly before acting, plus confidentiality. Now, I think it's definitely a shot across the bow to Minns, because Minns would have read
Latham. Yeah, I'd like to make a statement to Mark Latham. When I looked into a train scene, where's the 15 emails that were sent to you, Mark Latham, about the pedophilia that was going on in the schools that are, actually instigated this train thing in Queensland, guys, and we know exactly what happened up there. As I said, we're going to let it out one day when the timing's right for the public, not to shock them too much at the moment, but yeah. So, the plot thickens, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Mark Latham.
Well, Dave,
why the 15 emails? They all just bite at each other, mate, and play a big circle and keep you distracted. And they're all in it together.
And they're going to throw each other under the bus, mate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. Yeah.
Well, now the other thing, of course, that's going on in Australia is this ATO staff. 4 ATO staffers have now been convicted of fraud in a GST scam that has cost $2 billion. $2 billion.
$2 billion. $2 billion. Imagine what you can do with $2 billion. Like, really?
4 of them. It's just phenomenal.
That could solve our homeless problem.
Oh. And set us up with a little bit, Frank,
Absolutely.
Buy a port back or something, start doing some trading out of it. You know what I mean? Get some of our coal back, start hijacking ships. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, we have this coming up, and I wasn't aware of this. Jim Ferguson has reported on this, and it's basically there's a trial that could trigger Nuremberg 2.0. So it's at Leeuwarden, and it's tomorrow, and it's a Dutch courtroom will hear the case that could rip open the lies of the pandemic and finally drag the untouchables to life. It's about that batch number, the killer batch. So, and it was allegedly responsible for death, injury, and also a global cover-up. So it's be very interesting. It is going to come out. It's just basically, it's just taken, what do they say? Justice rides in on a donkey?
Well, tomorrow is actually the 7-year Delta, officially.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. Well, and I think isn't it supposed to be finished tomorrow? I think that there was a huge drop. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, we shall see. Now the other thing is that in the news overseas, and is the clots. Now I have a bit of an affinity for Kenya. I love for Kenya, having been there. so there's clots being reported in Kenya,
but no one
as
is
well.
holding them to accountability. That is the saddest thing. No one talks about the deaths caused by this jab.
Yes.
No one has had, maybe if you tell me, no one has talked about, like, seriously, about the adverse side effects that so many people are suffering from. No one is talking about the increase of blood clots that are killing people. Even in Kenyan hospitals, there are clots all over, a clot in the brain, a clot in the leg, and if those clots are not arrested really early, these people are dying. No one is talking about, I find
So you have that, and the other thing as well is this girl, I think, has figured it out. We might just go a minute over because this is a really important story. I knew that Bezos was dumping his stocks, but I couldn't figure out why. I believe she's figured out why he's doing it.
Isn't this interesting? Today, everybody's talking about how Jeff Bezos sold $666 million in Amazon stock as a part of a plan to unload 25 million shares. But then I remembered that just last month, he sold over 3 million Amazon shares worth $737 million. Why is he freeing up all this money? At first, I thought it was to take Lauren Sanchez on a luxury honeymoon, but now with the announcement that TikTok is going to sell its app to a U.S. buyer, I think Jeff Bezos is doing what he's always wanted, trying to get his hands on TikTok. I mean, let's just look at the timeline. In 2020, Jeff Bezos told his Amazon workers to delete the app because it was a security risk. And in 2022, when TikTok Shop was launched, Bezos was not happy that TikTok was introducing social selling to the United States and eating some of Amazon's profits. He even tried to copy the app and started Amazon Inspire, but it was a huge flop and they had to scrap the program this February. Right around the same time, he tried to make a bid on the app earlier this year. Well, I think Jeff Bezos is getting his cash together so that he can get a prime deal and buy out his competition and be the new owner of M2, the American version of TikTok. As always, let me know what you think about all of this down below.
Anything's possible, and that's a great theory.
Hey, Dave, 666.
Yeah, I know.
737 equals 17.
Yeah, now that's interesting you should say that because I've actually been looking into some stuff, and with the executive order 13818.
Yep.
Look, I have looked at BlackRock buying up all of these houses and all that sort of stuff, and I've thought, is this part of the plan? Are they? Because if they have done anything if they come under that order, then basically they don't own anything, but it's a good front to actually buy up everything and then return it back to the people. Yeah, exactly. And I've wondered the same about, like, with Amazon, with Bezos and that sort of stuff. And I thought, is this what's going on? Is that this how they do it? It looks, basically we can see the problems, identifying to us what the issue is with these corporations, but then that executive order covers it. So there's a restoration period afterwards.
Yeah.
Anything could be anything, Margaret Jacoby. Anything could be anything on this chessboard, okay? And we got to let it play because God's moving the pieces around, okay? And if the only pieces that are getting moved around on God's side is us, the little bits of people that we have in our little communities, well, guess what? He will raise us up in our little communities and we will take back what's ours and we will flourish, okay? And that's the way it is. He's in control.
We're being taken out by the rocking housewife, and so if Frank, if you'd like to final words, Dave can wrap up and close the show.
What we're going to talk about, Frank? We're going to talk about something you would have noted it down.
I was going to talk about Ken Bone's funeral tomorrow. And we'll also, if you want, we can have a small discussion. I think we covered it tonight, Dave, where we just got to get out there in the community and all the rest of it. There was the event that's happening in Queensland as well, mate.
There you go. Yeah, go for it. Just, quickly, 60 seconds. Give me your description of what that event is. Hoodie's pulled out.
Okay. Yeah. It is, yeah? Okay. Well, I had a skill about it.
On religious grounds, yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway, apparently there was apparently there was a combined, it was called the Freedom Speech program put together by a bunch of so-called freedom fighters, the likes of Joel Jamal Kozak, Dave O'Neiggs, Graham Hood, the usual suspects. Anyway, they were having a 2-day event up in Queensland. They were encouraging everybody to get up there to this, great gala event and all the rest of it. But what they were doing, Dave, is they put a paywall on it for us, the general public, to actually see what was going on. And it was $19.95, well, basically $20 to listen to these guys, basically regurgitate old news, because, that's basically what it is. It's never anything new. It's usually the same old, same old. And so I made a point of saying that, folks, come on. I'd rather I want someone to give me the solutions. I'm sick of tired of hearing what we already know. And so I made that spiel. And more importantly, you guys don't need to pay a damn cent to anybody to get the information that's required, to get the truth, right? And so that was the thing that I made very, very specific. Do you want to add to it, Dave, before I wrap up with the other comment?
No. Look, I think you've just covered it, mate. So, get out there, be part of it. Go.
Lastly, as
Carolyn
you all know...
Carolyn disagrees.
Carolyn
disagrees.
That's okay.
Well, look, here's the thing, is that Dave and I have worked our asses off for 3 years, and basically we have no money. We've not taken a cent. And it's like both of our health, it's cost us in both our health, and we should be paid for what we do. So we need to find ways of monetizing it. I'm not saying that, it's, what does the Bible say? It says a man's worth his wages. So, if we're putting this stuff out, then I think that I'm not saying that if people can't afford it, then fine, we'll give it to them for nothing. But we need to find a way of monetizing, because we're not going to be in the race for a long time. We've got to find a way of getting money into this movement.
100%, completely.
Look, I agree with you guys. I do. I didn't want to comment on it, but I will now. Caz has piped in with hers, you know what I mean? So, my views on this, okay? My views are God didn't put me here to make any money. That's why when, someone said, you should have merchandise, Dan put his hand up. Hey, Dan, go for it, man. Here, go and do it. Another guy in the North Shore up here wanted to do it. I think they are. I don't even know, guys, because I don't even look. You know what I mean? But, if people want to do it, they want to do it. This was always the people's channel. This name was always brought up in an act of kindness going down the coast to help fire victims that we now know was against the cabal, okay, who put the fires through there where they wanted the high-speed rail network, okay, and that's where Stop the Rot was grown from. So it's got roots, you know what I mean? And we can take it somewhere, okay? But yes, could we do some money to help out? Yeah, man, we sure could. Am I ever going to ask for it? No, I'm not. Am I ever going to have a paywall? Probably never. Or I can tell you never, because I would not make people pay for the truth. I meant to say, would I ever have a PayPal? I don't know. That's God's decision. Okay, but everyone needs to do what they think they need to do. But we do need help as a Freedom family. We do need money, okay, because we need to be able to. Look, man, even though I'm going through stuff, you know what I mean? But look, no one can just continually live on savings or whatever you've got and do this, and that's why Mel's at work at the moment. Does she enjoy it? Yes, of course she does. But it's also there to just supplement us and hold us up, you know what I mean? Because I can't at the moment, guys. So, are things tough? I'll tell you that things are where God wants them. I don't know whether they're tough or not, okay? But we're in God's hand and he's playing it. So I'll shut up there and let you back in, Frank, to say what you want to say on the next point. Sorry.
Yeah, no, look, I just want to add to that. Look, I agree, because guess what? We can't keep running on a naughty rag. I believe we are the media today, right? And we should have, all the technicalities and all the technology that allows us to do a proper stream and a proper show, right? But, and that requires dollars and cents, right? So there's no question and no argument there for that. But lastly, as those know, I was involved with A1, and we had a community on the Central Coast, and that was led by Jake. And, absolutely. And a close friend by the name of Ken Bone passed away, sadly lost his fight to cancer. His funeral's tomorrow. So I'd like to see all the family gather together to see Ken off. And, and I'm sure we'll be able to, share his wonderful life that he actually had. And, so I'm sure he'd want us just to celebrate. And we know that Ken's gone to a great place, and he's up with the Lord himself. And so we wish his family all the very best, and we'll be there in good numbers to, see him off properly. Anyway, that's it for me, Dave.
All right, thanks. And that's probably it from us, guys. But look, yeah, I'm trying to psych you up. We got Frank on here because when I went and watched his live the other day, I realised that we're all about to hit the same drum, I think. Jody in my pre-talks down the line, was more community-based is what I got out of our discussions, next time when we carry on from this. So I think we've really got something to do here. Let's get back into it. We got a great week coming up, guys, next week. All right, we got Coley on, Craig Cole on Tuesday night. We've got some other people coming on to talk to you about what you can do. And this is serious stuff, guys, about your health getting through this time of the silent war when you are being hit and manipulated by 5G, DEWs, Michael, whatever you want to call it, EMF, you know what I mean? There's a ton of things coming at you guys, all right? All right, so we're going to go into that a little bit. That's going to be a great program. We've got some other people coming on. Of course, we'll have Frank back in next week to give us a rundown on Maggie's. But, guys, let's get out, get into our community. That's what it's about. Good night.
Drafting laws to keep us swayed. A hate speech bill, a silencing game. But are they for real or just chasing fame? Why is the government censoring